Hi and welcome to Behavior Scientist goes over Takopi's original sin. It is, of course, a gruesome show, guys, but very, very interesting. And I hope you like the videos. And I want to thank you guys if you're a member. So I want to try here and make this video first available to members a week ahead of time. And then you guys, everyone can see it after 7 days. Because I've never been into locking away content. But I do want to try to make more and more serious videos, right? Edited videos, and they take more time and so on, right? So I'm basically trying to make, I feel personally, right, higher quality content. So if you're here as a member, I really appreciate that. Something I'll test out. I also have this general, I think, idea that YouTube probably promotes your channel more if you also utilize the different systems, right? So if I have a membership thing going on with some animes or some games or whatever, I think that YouTube just overall promote everything more. That's my guess. I think it's probably accurate because if you do short, YouTube promotes your longer videos as well, just because like you're using the system, you know. But anyway, I do want to bring this up here in the topic of gratification. Okay, before we get into the video, I want to cover that bit because it's very, very important when it comes to parenting. Because you can, of course, just wait, right, until the next week and get the next video. Absolutely, right. That is delayed gratification, right. See, I'm bringing it up because in the comment section of my second video, and absolutely, please leave comments, give me questions, what think about this thing, that thing, right. And you can, of course, ask me any question not in the anime. You know what I mean? It can be related to anything, right? Any other issue, and I will try my best to answer it. But my point is that there was this person who commented a lot of comments, and then I was trying to explain my reasoning with the mom scene, episode 2, and I bring up the topic of gratification, and I felt that the person didn't get my point at all, right? At all, or the conceptual idea of gratification. So that's when I explain it here because it is like the most important factor as a parent, and I really mean that. So when I was working at university back in the days, this is like just before Corona, I was giving lectures and so on, right? A lot, and my favorite topic for semester was always this lecture when I go over gratification, because there's always some parent out in the audience being like, "Oh, I'm not doing that. Oh shit!" So I can cover this for 3-4 hours easily. But basically, you can read about the marshmallow test, right? The marshmallow test is like the most famous example of this thing. It's from the 70s, where they actually didn't give the kids marshmallows. It's actually, I've done it myself on studies. You basically have, you ask the kid what their favorite candy is of like a selection of candy. Let's say you have a chocolate bar or so on, right? And the kid is like, "Oh, I like chocolate bar." And then you tell them, of course, okay, if you wait for like 20 minutes, I will give you 2 chocolate bars, or I will give you 1 right now, right? And then you see if the kid will wait for, 20 minutes or not, right? But it's pointing out that it isn't actually a marshmallow. It might be a marshmallow. I don't remember why they called it marshmallow test specifically, but again, it's more like you figure out what the child's favorite candy is, basically. So it's gonna be hard, right? They really want it, It's very important. Right? Now, this actually is, of course, directly relating, right, to the Shizuka dog scene. It really is, because think about it, right? Of course, I'm assuming here that the dog is alive, right? Obviously Marina was screaming, the dog is dead and so on, but I'm assuming that mom didn't lie and the dog was sent to her father, you know what I mean? Okay. So if you have very high delayed gratification, right? If your mom tells you, okay, but don't worry, you can see Chappie in like 2 weeks from now, right? Obviously, if you have high, again, that thing, you can wait easier for those 2 weeks, right? But if you have very low, you might be like, "Oh, I want to see Chappie now," right? So it is very, very important, because that is the biggest factor, especially in that context, how a child will feel or relate, or it's more like, I guess, regulate their emotions, right? So obviously she's incredibly sad and negative and all this stuff, because her dog's her best friend, but being told then that you can see the dog in X number of time, right? How that is regulated, it's a dopamine thing, right? How much she can like, "Oh, can I wait this much? Can I wait that much?" or whatever, right? That comes back to this gratification part, right? Now, that being said, I'm very clear here, I guess, in the anime, mom doesn't really say that. As of course I addressed, right, in the last video, mom she isn't clear, right? She just says, you can see the dog in the future. And that's exactly what I was trying to explain there, right? Because by saying that to your child, but you can just see dog in the future, right? The child can't even understand, can't even comprehend. Can I see my dog tomorrow, or is it like, 1 year from now, right? And that again is why, of course, for a poor kid, it gets incredibly uncertainty. Yeah, what do you mean? Is it now? Is it tomorrow? Yeah, and obviously then you can't control again your gratification because you're like, well, I don't even know how time is, right? So that comes back to the communication, right? The more clear you are, it easier is for your child to have expectations, right? And this is also important for the general storyline here, because the biggest factor, I keep saying it, and I really mean this thing, in my own studies, and in our paper about this too, is that you can truly look from the marshmallow test and the test they did on these children when they were adults, right, and so on, is that the children that fail on this test are the most likely kids to have, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, so forth, right, as adults, etc. So it really is a huge indicator if someone will grow up and have a bad or a good life, like straight up. And the reasons are plenty, right? But obviously when it comes to alcohol and so on, if you have higher delayed gratification right control, you won't go for any substance that easy. You don't need that quick fix, right? So that's an easy explain why. But I think the biggest reason why, from a general behavior standpoint, is that a child with high delayed gratification, what they will do is to be better at school. They have much easier time saying that, okay, I know it's a party tonight, right? But tomorrow's a test. So I'm going to study tonight and I'm going to go to another party tomorrow or whatever. That child has a much better handling of like, I have to do X thing now, have a better future tomorrow. That kind of the mentality. So what that leads to is that children with really high delayed gratification control, they will have better, school, whatever, degrees, grades, so forth, right? And that leads them to, at average, of course, I'm generalizing here, but at average, that leads them to having, better jobs, better pay grade, etc. You know what I mean? And that, of course, leads them to also not using drugs, alcohol, and so on. I think that's the biggest thing, really. Even though it is true that if you have terrible, I met a lot of people, right, that I've interviewed and so on, they have absolutely zero control, right? Of course, they are, they get addicted to anything, obviously. But for like an average person, more at the center of this thing, just having slightly higher will help you, again, to see that school and so on, which will give you a better job, etc. Usually, right, and that, of course, leads to you, not getting into bad stuff, right? So that's probably the biggest indicator why. Now, this is really important for this anime. Maybe not perhaps the main character yet, so I don't know, but I want to bring it up because it's so important to understand this concept, right? Because the biggest reason, of course, as I was in the comments of that video, is that the biggest reason a child has bad control over this thing is, of course, the parent, right? The parent is at fault almost always if the kid has his issues. And that's why I think it's an important factor, and I want to bring it up in this video, because it's so incredibly crucial that we actually change the society, okay? I have been on some couple of, conferences, right? I'm going to conference next month for that matter, whatever. And I've said these things in some of my own lectures. We need to be better at this at societal level. We need to teach people at school to do this thing. We need to teach parents to do this thing, right? Because one thing from a governmental standpoint is that, of course, we should teach people investment in marketing and so on. From an economical standpoint, the whole concept of the candy thing is that if I wait X number of time, I get 2 candy, right? That is basically, an index fund. Okay, if I put money into this thing, then I get more money in the end. My mom, she's obsessed with index funds, okay? She loves money in that sense. She's like, because my grandpa, her father and mother's side, he was his own company, he was a trader, he loved that stuff, right? My mother, when I grew up as a kid, she was like, bank, investment, money into the bank. Everything you make, put it into the bank, She was like, put it on the bank, buy this fund, blah, blah, blah. She was crazy with that, right? So, of course, me and my siblings, we all have spent all our money since we got the job, right? Putting it in the market, right? Which obviously has paid off very, very well. And when I was a teenager, I actually ran like a bank where I would lend out money to my friends or whatever, right, at school and so on, and obviously I would take interest and I would get money back, right? So yeah, I really invested into that. So I was making a lot of money early, so forth, right? But it comes from that parenting, because my mom was, in this sense, the opposite, right, of her mother. She was like obsessed with telling me how to invest money, make money more. Money makes money. Yeah, because her father was like, money makes money, you know? So she was very, very into this concept of like, no, you take 2 candies tomorrow, boy, don't take 1 candy now, you're stupid, right? She was very into teaching me that. Generally speaking, of course, I go into that. My own personality, I obviously still am very much invested in that anyway, but still. But unfortunately, right, and I'm coming to a long point, sorry, is that the reason a lot of parents fail to this thing, and I'm not addressing this anime now, it's to be very clear here, right? Obviously, her mother is way worse. I'm not addressing this like insane, abusive mother. I'm talking about in general, context here, right? The reason a lot of children fail understand this concept when you test them and they're like 4 or 5 and so on is because the parents aren't trustworthy. Okay, the biggest reason children fails the marshmallow test 100%, and this leads to honestly this bad issues their whole life, right? Bad school grades, more alcoholism and so on, drug abuse and so on, right? Is because when they were children they couldn't trust adults, they couldn't trust their own parents. So the reason when a person asks them, do you want 1 marshmallow now or whatever we're talking about, or do you want 2 in an hour or 2, whatever, right? They don't trust them. Yeah, they don't trust that they will have that. And that is why when you study this thing, almost always are poor kids, right? Kids growing up in poverty, kids growing up in bad neighborhoods, whatever, so forth, they will fail this delayed test, right? Because they are growing up in a contextual situation where their parents maybe always can't provide to them, right? Their parents cannot always give them whatever toys or whatever, so forth, right? So they have trust issues with their parents. You can, of course, have, you can live in poverty and have a good trust for your parents. Absolutely you can. But of course, from a general, like, a million people basis, right, that leads to, that usually is a big issue, right? Where rich parents will, of course, be able to give the kids they want, oh, you want this toy or whatever, I can pay that, this money, right? So from a systematic, the whole country standpoint, right, rich kids have much more trust in the system, trust in the parents, of course, and then also trust in the teachers, and that leads them to be better at school, and so on. Because if a teacher tells you that, okay, if you study more on this thing, then they get an A, right, But if you don't trust adults, right, if you don't trust your teacher, you don't gonna care about that, right? But if you trust them, you might care. You don't have to care, but you might care, right? So from a behavior standpoint, talking about like a million rich kids, a million poor kids, right? The million rich kids are much, much more likely to have a much higher delayed gratification, right? Because their parents have been able to give them stuff when they're growing up, And it isn't about material goods, of course, but it's about, promises, right? Okay, if you do this thing, we will take a trip to whatever, Hawaii or whatever, right? And obviously the parents are probably going to Hawaii anyway. What do you mean? They can promise stuff, adventures, this thing, we will do this thing and that thing and so on, right? So that just gives them that empathy. Now overall though, if we ignore material gains, but that is of course still the biggest reason why, overall, right, this issue comes from children growing up with their parents are lying to them, okay? It's not exactly the same as I said last episode, communication, but definitely is partially the same thing. But it's like because their parents have to say, oh yeah, sure, I will be home at 5 and then we will watch this show and then we eat or whatever, right? And then, mom is late, she's home at 7, she's drunk or whatever, right? This broken household. And that is why, again, the kids will grow up not trusting adults, right? Not trusting the system, because their parents, usually then, again, single household moms, right, tend to be big in this thing. And this is not because, it's a topic, right? Because a lot of people will say that the reason, especially in America, right, is that so many women have, they have no husbands, it's like a single house, blah, blah, and that's why they have the kids grow up and do crime and so on, right? But a big reason why is exactly what I was saying, right? It's not necessarily because mom is a bad person, but if you have a single household, right, keeping promises from a parent standpoint, regardless of gender, but of course, obviously, it usually is a single mom, right? Single that exists, but obviously single moms are much more common. A single moms, she has a much higher time, keeping promises, right? It's much harder for her, because she's alone, keeping promises, right? She has usually, again, less money. She has probably, harder time to get off work and do this thing. If she has several children, she has to try to kind of manage, picking up that and doing that and so on, right? But if you have a husband, obviously again I'm generous, but you have a husband, right? But if you're a couple, you have a husband, you can say that, oh, I promised my son to pick him up after soccer practice, right, at 7, right? But I have to go and pick up his sister because this thing happened and it's really important, right? I can call my husband, now he instead can go pick up the son, and then the son will be, oh, but mom lied then. Yeah, but she has to, okay, whatever. And the kids, forget about it, right? Because, dad sold it, you know what I mean? So it's not a big issue, right? However, normally then, of course, unfortunately for a single mom, right, it might be like, who can I call? I can't call anyone, right? Okay, no, my son has to wait for an hour, or, maybe I can call a friend perhaps, you know what I mean? So that immediately is a big reason why single parent household, right, will grow up in this society where the children will have a much less trust, right, again, for the parents, so on, because, yeah, it's harder for them to manage time and so on. So that is usually the biggest reason why, right, is that you set this promise to your kids, and it's very important also, honestly, again, unfortunately, but it is what it is, with material gains, right? You should never promise your kid to say that, well, if you do this thing, right, then I will give you ice cream, or I will give you a video game, whatever, yeah. And you don't do that, you know what I mean? That breaks children, right? Yeah. If you tell your kid, oh, if you clean up your room and this thing, I will buy you the new Spider-Man game, right? And then you lie, the kid did it anyway. And I think hopefully, I mean, people hopefully understand what I'm talking about, right? So we all see that in movies. We all know the situation, right? Where your mom is like, okay, if you do this X thing, which is really hard to do, it is so hard. She's like, there's no way my 7-year-old son even can do this thing, right? She gives you an impossible task, you know what I mean? We see it in so many movies, right? That the kids still do it, right? They manage to do this impossible task, and then the mom is like, wait, you actually did that shit? Well, I did promise you that, but that was a stupid lot of money. Right, yeah, you should never do that as a parent. Terrible, right? Especially in the situation where the child has really spent effort to accomplish this really hard task, and the parent is like, oh, you actually did it. What do I do now? So, because I'm just glazed the topic here, guys. I can make a video. I guess it's for 3 hours, 4 hours, just discuss topic. But I want to get into anime now. So you see that around me here, sun is going down. It's gonna be a super long video otherwise. But I just hope you understand how this relates to anime, right? Because obviously, a girl like this will grow up with incredibly, trust issues, right? And like I said, it's a mixture of course, many factors. Now, I addressed it from a gratification standpoint primarily, but obviously we saw in episode 1 and 2 as well, right? She doesn't trust teachers. Why? Well, yes, because they don't help her and so on. But primarily it's called because her mom is a terrible mother, right? And because her mom is terrible, she doesn't trust adults. And what that means is that she doesn't trust, the system, right? I thought about it. Which means that she won't, again, trust that the other teachers will help her either, right? So I think that's very, very connected with children. Absolutely. Now, lastly, before we go into the episode, I just want to guess a little bit of the actual anime here. Very good point here. So, what will happen now then? I do think that Marina has to be in the anime. I cannot see her as being gone. So I was thinking about it while I was at work today. I was talking to my colleague. He's also into anime, so we talk about anime. He has seen the show. He watched episode 1, so he didn't know. We discussed a little bit there. So I was like, I think that maybe the alien will take her place. That could make sense. Otherwise, I think that she will be alive somehow, right? So my two theories, and I said it last episode too. My first theory is that there's another alien, right? Because the timeline thing was weird, how she always managed to kind of find them. So it might be another alien or something else, time traveling, but I guess I'm an alien then. Or the Takopii will transform into her. So yeah, because when I talked about Hall, he was like, well, he could transform, and he was just a little bit. So I was like, yeah, maybe she can transform, like we see how he becomes Shizuka, right? That's my going theory now. I guess that would be the easiest way, but I still kind of want to believe that there is some other mystery, because he was like, we can't go back to my home planet because some reason. Yeah, it does feel that there is some kind of happy mystery thing. But the more I think about it, I also kind of like the concept of him becoming Shizuka, because we saw how Marina, I mean, sorry, that's voice slip. Because, I mean, episode 1, right, we saw how Takopii was learning what pain is. He has never felt pain before, right? By being Shizuka. So if he becomes Marina instead, he will again, I guess, be beaten up by her mom, right? And then he can feel more pain. So it sounds terrible, but I mean, then he can kind of maybe understand more, what is wrong or whatever with like humanity. Or he can understand more of that, perhaps. But I still think that overall, though, maybe I'm just like a happy ending guy. But I do feel that Marina will be alive in the end. Somehow, it does feel to me they have the ending here or opening. I mean, I do feel that they're gonna end up, being together, being friends in the end together. Something weird. I was expecting it to be some weird ending where it's like Gone Girl or something. Gone Girl. I must spoil it, but I do feel it's something like that. It's like they're somehow gonna be kind of friends or something. So if but I do think the episode here will probably go in more to Marina's life, regardless, though. So we kind of can see it from her perspective. We obviously know that her dad is sleeping with her mom, and her mom beats her up, right? So we probably understand why she's so mean. And I think that the only guy that's nice to her, he has to have more screen time too. And then lastly, as I said last episode, I think that she will still probably be bullied by the other girl. If she's dead, and everyone thinks she's dead, right? Everyone's gonna blame her anyway, yeah. As we see in reality, right? Every time this happens, when someone defends herself, whatever, right? Even if they don't get convicted for it, the whole school basically blames them anyway. So if Marina stays dead, everyone's gonna hate her for it, regardless what happened, right? That for sure. But let's go into it. So in the first scene here, he finds them. He followed them. He's a nice guy. He's angry now that she's dead. I have to say immediately, he's probably my favorite character. I like how he's kind of like the middleman, He's a kind of neutral guy. He's trying to help her first. He's like, oh, she's being bullied. I want to help her. And now he's like, yeah, but we shouldn't just kill this girl because, yeah, she's very evil, but we probably shouldn't kill her. So he's a very interesting character. I like how he's kind of in the middle ground. He's like, yeah, this is wrong. We just kill this girl, right? Yeah, why is it funny for? He's a very reasonable yeah. He's a very reasonable character in the middle, being like, no, this is also wrong. Too wrong doesn't make... Alright. Now, she brings up a question, though, that is interesting. Yeah, it wasn't Magic, it was clearly the camera. He's like, that you clearly used the bloody camera there. That's clearly what you used. That being said, though, this brings up a question, though. What should you do if you have an alien killing a girl? Yeah, I agree with him. It's like, who would believe you? So, I guess you would go to the cops, right? Because it is kind of like, who's gonna believe this thing? Obviously you get blamed for it, even if the alien did it. So if I was in her shoes, yeah, I wouldn't go to the cops either, because it literally was the alien who did it. But yeah, who would believe that, right? They're gonna be like, you killed her. Like, no, I didn't. Yeah, you're smart. Okay, so you're gonna recruit him. He's just like, yeah, I mean, he's like, yeah, I guess I am. I'm a smart guy. Oh, I shouldn't laugh at this. He's just like, oh yeah, let's throw her down a ravine or something. Yes. She's like, how do we cover up the crime? Yeah. Okay, she's like, yeah, good. We should do this thing. What? Yeah, let's do that thread again. But honestly, in her situation, yeah, what else would you do, right? Yeah, because the alien hasn't already killed the girl, so we can use his magic, yeah. But I think this makes a lot of sense, though. Yeah, as I keep saying, from her standpoint, a very pragmatic, rational, non-emotional standpoint, that your bully is dead. You don't have to cherish, like I said last time, I think it's kind of disgusting people that are happy that the girl got murdered, right? I'm sure of it. I haven't seen any reaction yet, but I'm sure of it. But being in a situation, you would hide the body or something like that, yeah, because again, it is actually the alien who did it. But what are you gonna do, right? Because you're like, no one's gonna believe that little weird pink thing killed it. That being said, though, this is not what a 9-year-old would know, though. But if you look at it from like I'm thinking that another solution might be that to confess. You probably would, in Japan, you probably actually wouldn't be convicted for it. He's so young. And he's like, huh, could you lie in the system and say that, yeah, could you like do it on purpose to get in the system or something? I don't know, but no, the hiding the body is your best bet, right? Okay, let's see if they hide the body then. I think that this, I don't know. Can Chappie use his magic for this? He got a lot of weird magic, so. Oh, his parents? Oh, it's her? But he's obviously bullied too, right? Something like that. So what was that? That could. But I don't think that was. I think it was his parent probably. It was someone like insulting him and they were sitting down. Yeah, my mom won't help. Okay, it sounds weird. He's gonna be like, please. Oh, so yeah, okay. The brother's in the opening, right? He's like, yeah, let's. This is. You're all I have. Let's hide the body. Oh my god. This scene here is kind of crazy. She's like, please help me hide the body. You're all I have, Asuma-kun. This scene is so weird. She's killed this girl, and he's like, but I have to hide the body. He's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. I can do it. I can't laugh at this thing, but it's a weird, like, morbid comedy, right? Yeah, this guy is like, oh, I will help you, Shizuka-chan. Yes, let's hide the dead girl. It's like, what? And he got a bunch of weird gadgets. He's like, oh yes, we can use my memory P. Wait, memory? Maybe you can like revive her or something like that thing? Oh wait, you can preserve? You can just put the body in there. Yeah, I call it. They're gonna put her in some kind of weird capsule, Dragon Ball style. Put her in like they can shrink it down, I guess, like a Dragon Ball. It caps literally. This is Dragon Ball! They're literally using a capsule for putting her body in it. Wait, bury her? You can just keep the capsule, boy. You don't have to bury the body. He turned into her. I call it. Oh my god, I call it. He's gonna turn into. He's gonna take her place then, right? Yeah, so take her place. Yay, P! And then he's gonna probably beat it by her mom and so on. But yeah, I freaking call him, man. He's gonna turn into Marina. So they don't have to pretend she's dead. Okay, I got him. I'm not too surprised by this thing. It felt like they kind of one of the two most likely scenarios, right? That Happy gathered things to become her. Like we saw in episode 1, we turned into Suka, right? So now it's gonna become the dead girl and go home to her. But I think that this would be an interesting topic because, I mean, I guess earlier, I'm guessing he's gonna, go home to her, right? Her mom will probably beat her, leaving crap, so yeah, she will probably be very, very hands-off with her parenting, right? On Takopii. Then Takopii will learn her life and probably feel sorry. I do think it's gonna go into that. I keep saying that. I think that they will somehow revive her in the end or something like that, right? So maybe now if he goes home and lives her life and it's so terrible, he's gonna feel all sad what he did right here. He's already questioning if he should have killed her, and then he lives through her, literally goes a day through her shoes, right? And then he's like, oh my god, what I did was super wrong. This poor girl, her life is terrible. Her mom is the worst or whatever. And then he might try to save Marina in some way. That would be my guess. Or maybe he just lives her life forever then. It would be kind of strange, but maybe. Yeah, PPP! Because Marina certainly is so known for her happy, yeah, I don't know. I feel her mom would probably beat her up more, right? Her mom is likely be even more too mean to her. Wait, so they can't shrink it down again? I guess maybe I was thinking that thing would be like literally like a Dragon Ball. They could shrink down again because it looked like a capsule. You could go up and down in size, but yeah, here we go. Takopii is like, actually, should I do this thing? Questioning the morality of this. Shut up! Just do it! Yes, like, do it! Just it's weird now. Yes! Oh, I love you, Shizuka-san! I'll do everything for you! He looks so happy digging down the body. Jesus Christ, man. This is the most morbid anime of all time. Yeah, he's just like, yay, we're digging a hole! Oh my god. Okay, so actually, I think that the whole digging place was terrible looking there. Maybe on purpose. I feel like maybe someone's gonna find the body later, right? Because that was just like really terribly. They just killed the amount. That looked like really bad. That looked like anyone would go walk to be like, yeah, it was that, yeah. So maybe on purpose. So that an adult later will find. Okay, she's not happy, but obviously her mom will like you slap her around now, right? There's no way. Yeah, okay, here we go. So he's gonna experience her life and his power wish and everything. Dad also is very happy how they do the power vision thing. Obviously mom is like slap or something. Oh, dad is there. Oh yeah, because yeah, it's like I mean obviously her dad is sleeping with Shizuka's mom. We really know that. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, that was an interesting point. Again, I really like how this anime is well written. That was a really good point there. So her father, right? Marina's father. Do we know his name yet? Oh, whatever. But her father's name. I don't know. But her father. And that is that he called her a parasite, right? So we see Marina several times calling Shizuka a disgusting parasite, a slut and so on, right? The slut thing comes from her mom, you know, being a night walker and so on, right? But this is interesting. This is good writing because this, of course, mirroring is very common with children, right? So if a child sees their father using the insult of, in this case, parasite, she might be, that's a good insult. There you go, dad, right? So she's using her father's insult towards her mother against Shizuka, right? So that is very much, you know, the children do as they see, not as they're being told, you know, right? Classically, yeah. She's mirroring her father's language towards Shizuka. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and the same thing, it's my money and all that. It throws that honestly looked kind of comedic though. I don't know really what he's going for. Would be interesting if he cares about his daughter. No, not really. And obviously mom is like, she sits there. Oh god, that was so awkward. They sure talk a lot, yeah. They sure are friendly with each other. My god, he's a smart kid. He's reminds me of Deku. He's like, I got all the plans in the book, man. Okay, let me guess his life then, okay. So what is his problem then, right? He also has a terrible life. It seems like everyone has a terrible life in this anime. It's one of those misery in that sense. In his case, I'm guessing he's in the shadow of his brother, right? Yes. The anime definitely is going in that direction. He's all worried. He has to go home and study and get better grades and so on, right? His brother is this, I guess, golden child, as people like to use these days, right? That might not necessarily be true, but I think that that's going in a direction where his brother is very beloved by his parents. He's the best at everything, you know, yada yada. And then he feels all this pressure because we had this very quick earlier flashback when he was like Onishan, right? We heard his mom's, I guess, saying Onishan. So he's in the shadow of his older brother, and his parents is probably really bad to him if he doesn't get, you know, perfect grades like his brothers did when he was the same age, right? And again, everyone loves his brother. That seems to be his thing, right? And in the opening, it's also his brother is behind him in the opening, right? So that's very likely. But I think that's the reason why he feels a lot of pressure now that he has to go home and study instead. He doesn't want to waste time with this weird murder thing because, yeah, he needs to like impress his parents, right? So that I think that seems to be pretty clear. Now, maybe his parents aren't as bad as like the other two parents, where they are massively neglecting them or throwing stuff in their face or whatever. I don't think so. I hope not, right? I think it'd be kind of silly if everyone has like physically abusing parents or whatever. He probably is more under heavy scrutiny and pressure from his parents, right? But maybe they aren't as like brutal as, you know. It's like I said in my last video. It's like it's layers in hell, right? It's layers in hell. His parents are maybe 3 out of 10, and the other ones are 0 out of 10 or whatever. Yeah, so it's something like that. But I think his source definitely some kind of inferior. Everyone loves his brother and everyone hates him kind of thing. Oh, it's the brother maybe? Yeah, it has to be, right? Yeah, Onishan. But maybe his brother. She looks so happy. Happy pee. Yeah, I am. Maybe the brother is nice though. Yeah, I hope his brother is nice. Yeah, it's probably mom being mean to him, right? Yeah, I think he probably hates his brother. Of course, his parents gives him infinite money, right? He's very much a golden child, yeah. So his parents forgive him all the money he wants to take his ring for? Yeah, it's like, well, he'd be shocked, yeah, I guess. Oh, she's turned evil now. You can do it! Oh my god, she's turned into a serial killer! She's like, let's kill him! Oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, so the anime is going in this direction that I'm not that surprised about, honestly, right? I called this in episode 1, where I was thinking that, you know, like they're probably gonna kill someone, and maybe they kill their parents. Yeah, I mean, already I felt that, you know, when the octopus or whatever starts killing people, it would probably be like a serial killer. Yeah, it probably be, you know, keep the blood flowing, right? Now she's like, oh, your brother is terrible to you? What if you rob him? Yeah, so... Is this realistic? This is very realistic in a general sense, right? A big fear when it comes to criminals, and you probably heard it before, but this is nothing new, right? Is that if you've killed once, you can much easier kill again. I mean, I know about it myself, you know. I mean, not a joke. No, but anyway, like, no, but seriously, people are absolutely right. When they have committed a crime, they have an easier time doing the same crime again. Absolutely. For many different reasons wise. One reason why is, of course, because you rationalize it internally, right? You have this internal rationalization where it's like, oh yes, I did rob her, but she deserved it. Or the classic one, I suppose, is, you know, yes, I tricked this person, but they deserved it because I could trick them, right? So they were stupid. I was lying. They were idiots for falling for the lie. They deserved it, so forth, right? And if you do that once, right, then it's easier for you to rationalizing and doing it again. It's not a person, right? And then so forth. And every time you do it, it's easier, right? And very often do you talk about this ladder thing or a staircase thing or whatever, where it's like you start with petty crime and then you walk up the ladder and eventually you become a murderer. And that's very common, right? Because if you do X crime, which is like a petty crime, and then it's easier, of course, to do a Y crime, which is worse. But, you know, it's like, well, if I could, you know, kill some, yeah, I could maybe order them or whatever. Yeah, you go up the ladder, right? So, in her case, now, of course, she started with murder, which is not crazy. But, yeah, obviously, it's the alien's fault. She started with murder, right? So for her, it's like, yeah, let's rob him. It'll be fun. Yeah, I kind of buy that. She's on this like dark path now. She's like, whatever, let's just enjoy it. Yeah, let's just do it, right? I think it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. What I don't like, though, is that I haven't really seen it be presented as Junya is evil. He seems actually to be like a nice brother. Maybe I'm wrong. We don't really exactly know the relationship between the brothers, right? But to me, so far, it feels like he's innocent. He's just like, because that is something actually. I feel like now this is gonna be a controversial take, right? That I think a lot of people, especially on Reddit, like, you know, I'm the asshole there, they're gonna go crazy now, right? But I think it's very unfair to hate the golden child sibling, okay? For most of the time, right, in most situations where you have two or more siblings, and one of them is the golden child of the family, it's not really their fault. You know what I mean? It's the parents' fault, right? I think it's very, very unfair. Unfortunately, I think it's very common, but it's very unfair. So you have two sisters, right? One of them is a golden child. The older sister then will hate her sister. And she's gonna blame her sister for, oh, your parents loved you, gave you the better car, blah, blah, and you were a bitch and blah, so, right? But actually, it's not really her fault, right? In 9 out of 10 cases with golden child, it's not like the child themselves, you know, wanted to have all the attention or got it in the parents or something, right? So it's really unfair usually in most situations to hate on your sibling just because your parents like them, right? It usually isn't that kid's fault. And in this case, I think it's even more, how I say it, disproportionate, because like, what I know so far is with anime, right? Junya, he's clearly a couple of years older than his brother. I don't know, 5, 6 years, but he's like a couple of years older. He's working, right, whatever. He's clearly older. He's like at least high school, right? But he looks like maybe 18 or whatever, yeah. So he's clearly much older than his younger brother. And then you have that, like, well, of course, the parents are at current state probably like, this is the golden child because, you know, he's not working and all this stuff, and the kid brother can't do that, whatever. Like, if it's really unfair hating his much older brother because he got a job or something, you know what I mean? If it's really straight. That being said, though, Maybe with some flashback, how he beats up the brother. Maybe it's gonna be some flashback, slaps him around or something, how he oars him or something, who knows. This anime is super dark, and then obviously it feels a lot more like, I can see why he wants revenge. But at the current stage, yeah, it feels a little bit weird where you're like, but is it really his fault though? And he seemed to be nice to his brother, and he was nice to the girls. It's like, hey, what are you doing, you know? He wasn't really like, he hasn't done anything wrong yet, I think. But I honestly do think it is. Like I said, I know people are gonna go crazy over this, my take on it, right? I know some people are so hateful for the Golden Child. But I really said by saying that, right, in most cases, the Golden Child didn't like create it themselves. It's almost always the parents, right? And sometimes the whole family. That being said, I used to be very candid here. Of course, there are some times where the Golden Child definitely will drive it. I think that what is very annoying is when someone knows the Golden Child and they're using it. So obviously that's very irritating. And I will give you my own example here. My sister, I have a couple of siblings, right? And my youngest sister, she's the youngest of all my siblings, right? She definitely is the Golden Child of my family sense because she's the baby one, the youngest one, the immortal, right? So she knows that, especially her father will never do. He's always gonna protect her, right? And she got kind of spoiled over that. Hopefully she never was video. No, but she knows what I said to her. She's an adult now. She's in her 30s now, so she knows this thing. But when she was, you know, like 15 years ago, whatever, then I would say that she was kind of spoiled because she obviously knew that, especially her dad would always be like, "Oh, your dad's a little girl," you know. So she kind of knew she could get away with, well, murder maybe, but you know what I mean. She knew that, and she would absolutely use that against me. I have several, my older siblings, right? I'm the oldest one, so maybe not so much against me because we have a couple of years, we're many years in between us, but especially against the middle siblings, right? Which are kind of in the similar age group, and she would be like, "Oh, I want to watch, you know, this show on TV, whatever, right? I want the remote, right?" And she knew that. Yeah, that he would always like basically pick her side. If she started, oh no, he's mean to me, whatever, with our brother, for example, she would always get her way, right? Yeah, then yeah, she was an annoying Golden Child, absolutely. But I guess that is also a little bit of a difference. I think it's a slight difference there between kind of the little baby kind of character and the Golden Child, right? Because in her case, it was very much that situation. She's the youngest in the family, and everyone is like, "Oh, she's so entitled, she gets away with it," and she was a girl, she got several brothers, and yeah, I think that was very much a classic thing that, it's like, oh, she very much had a positioning in life, and she knew how to use it, and then you get out of it. But let's keep going here, but I do wonder if he's gonna do it, because I feel like his brother hasn't done anything wrong yet, at all, right? There too, helping out. Yeah, I'm so happy we're gonna rob him! It's like, yes, got my insane medical alien jumping around behind me. No, like I said, I hope he doesn't do it, as long as the brother isn't actually mean. It would actually be really cool now if he does it and the brother catches him and he's not angry at him. He's like, "Why do you want to see my ring for? Let's talk about it." It would be really nice if the brother actually was like oh, here we go. Oh, it's my girlfriend, yeah, so that's why he bought it. Yeah, like the brother is really innocent. But he's mean as hell. Yeah, it feels like the brother did nothing wrong. This is more the parents' fault for... So he was to buy him stuff even? Man, his brother is like the nicest guy ever. His brother is like a freaking saint, man, this anime. His brother is like a saint! He's like the only nice person in the anime! Sure, he might understand his brother is jealous or whatever, but my god, this is terrible so far, my god. This is really, yeah, the brother character is really interesting so far. And I just want to say, I hope it stays like this, right? I hope that someone in this anime is actually a nice person. His brother seems to be an actual, like, really nice person. Like, I was like, genuinely, like, wow, this guy seems to be, like, he's like a saint compared to everyone else, right? He seems to be super nice, so he bought the ring because he has a girlfriend, right? And his motivation for buying the ring is that, sure, their parents would probably buy him the ring if he wanted to, right? But his mental point was that, no, but I want to buy this ring with my own money, right? So I know that I worked to have this ring with my girlfriend, yeah. So it feels like it's actually earned by me, right? Which it which is really correct. I like that. Yeah, I like it a lot, you know. It's like, yeah, I want to, you know, feel like I earned to have this romance, right? This relationship. So his brother seems to be like super nice, super rational, whatever you call it. But again, maybe in 5 minutes now, he's gonna like his brother or something. Maybe, I don't know. That is so dark that maybe I don't know what's gonna happen. But I just wanna say again, I know I'm repetitive, but I really wanna hammer this point down that I guess I feel this anime needs a character like Junya here, an actual super nice person that is like seems to be nice. And also, he I guess he wanted to buy his brother a present too, right? He's like, next time I get my salary, I will buy you this thing or whatever. Yeah, so he seems to be like, again, a saint. He's like the hero the anime needs, right? Okay, so he's like hide now or something. Maybe some nice gadget. What if they kill the brother now? What if he murder his brother on accident? What if he jumps at him? Takopii is like, camera attack or something. Then I don't know how to watch the anime more if he kills the poor brother. Which again seems to be an innocent person so far. Yeah. Oh, he got the wings now. That's the way. Yeah, she didn't want to use them earlier, but maybe he dies now. Maybe he falls down or something. Of course. But it probably, I think he's slightly in pain, right? He maybe is crying because he regretted his decision of trying to rob his brother. Yeah, obviously mom is at fault. This is obvious. Yeah, mom is like, you get no pancakes then, cause you sigh. Yeah, mom is like, mom is that classic like, you're a tiger mom. You only got a B. There's no pancakes for you, shit kid. Yeah. So I don't think we really have to go into too much of this storyline. This is very obviously mom is pure evil, right? Yeah, she's like, this is so terrible parenting. She's like punishing a child instead of giving them. And this is very classic, right? That you should never punish a kid. You should maybe not give them a video game or whatever as like, reward for not doing bad at school. But she literally is like, put a carrot in his face and like, oh, you love pancake? Oh yeah, but you terrible kid. Your brother's so much better. Oh, my mom is like, I'm wasting my time on you! Yeah, oh my god, his mom is so evil. Oh my god, he got such a terrible mom. She's like, you're a useless kid, I hate you. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, I mean, no one is surprised that this whole anime, every parent is a miserable piece of, yeah. So of course mom is incredibly evil. She constantly makes his like favorite food. This is like the reverse marshmallow or something like that. She's like, you want the marshmallow? But you can't have it! Stupid kid! Yeah, she's like, oh god, she's so terrible. And she like torments him with his like favorite food or whatever, right? And he didn't get a perfect 100% score. So mom is like, and this in here is like, you're a waste of time. Yeah, you piece of shit, right? Yeah, I hope you die, basically. Mom is like, just go and, get off my house, you're waste of time, your existence, right? So, obviously, as expected, the parent is incredibly at fault here. But, I really hope, I keep saying that, but I hope the brother didn't do anything wrong, right? So it is a little bit, I think his character is interesting because he clearly hates his brother, it seems, right? But he should hate his mom. And maybe he's just like kind of projecting, and this is not a way you can use the projecting. People tend to use, I myself too, projecting is like, the reverse thing, but you can also, of course, project your hate, right? So it seems that he probably hates his mother the most, right? I mean, probably right. And then he is projecting hate to his brother because the brother is kind of like, her golden child, right? So his hatred for her, he takes it out on his brother, right? So that's a classic thing. And for example, another anime then, this is a kind of famous anime, is My Academia, Rei and Dower's wife, and Todoroki's mom, right? Or Shoto, she of course, spoilers now then, but yeah, probably seen it, takes her hatred out, right, on her husband towards her son instead, right? It's a very similar thing. She feels that she hates her husband so much, she's trying to hurt their child because she knows that their child is his favorite, kid or whatever, right? This is the golden kid, right? So she's like, I want to hurt my son. By hurting my son, I'm hurting my husband, right? Because he's his favorite kid, right? So that's kind of how he thinks here. He's like Ray. He's like, if I hurt my brother, then my mom will be sad, and he actually hates his mother, right? So that's probably why he's acting like that, and that's a kind of a project of hatred, right? That you can see in real life a lot as well. But yeah, overall, this mom scene is terrible, and what she is doing is, I probably have to say it, but you should never do this to your kids, right? It's like a spoliage thing where incentivizing your kids is fine, right? For example, oh, if you get a good score, I buy the latest game to Spider-Man, you know? But this thing is more like, oh, here's Spider-Man, I bought you the Spider-Man game, oh, you got a bad score, and I'm destroying the Spider-Man, you know, yeah, you're like, what the hell? Yeah, that is obviously way, way worse. It's like those terrible YouTube families, you know, when they buy their kid an Xbox and then they destroy the Xbox just to get, you know, views or whatever, yeah. It's kind of like that. Well, I also think it's worse though when they do it for views though, because that is purely exploiting your family for whatever. Clickbait is terrible, obviously, but it's kind of like that. It's much worse to actually like produce the reward, right, and then like destroy it. She's like producing this, you know, his like favorite food or whatever, and she's like, oh, you can't have it though because you suck, and this is obviously way worse than saying that, oh, but if you do good, I will make this thing for you, right? This is 100 times worse. That being said though, I don't think that the general like, oh, you will get candy or whatever is like the best solution though. Even though I earlier talked about delayed gratification, right? Always giving your kid some kind of material gain for doing something isn't good either. Just want to be clear about that. But it's, yeah, this thing is so much different where you're kind of like teasing them in their face. Yeah, it's just so incredibly mean, right? Obviously leads to a lot of mental issues for your child. This is some severe bullying from my mom, right? And in here, the last scene, she's straight up, it's like, "Are you a waste of my time? You shit." Yeah, she's like, now she's going into just like, "You're terrible. I don't even care anymore." A question though, I wonder, and maybe it's later, I wonder if he did the same thing to her brother do. Did he go through the same thing, right? That could be interesting, because again, he hates his brother, but the brother seems to be a nice person, right? So what if he also had the same like tormenting mother, and then he, you know, got good grades or whatever eventually, and that's why she likes him, and if he learns that his brother went through the same issues, so he was like, you know, 10 years younger, right? Then he might not hate him anymore, right? And just hate the mom. That could be it. But I'm gonna guess from a general story aspect that the brother is probably just really gifted, so he probably just got perfect grades anyway. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels. He probably just got like A+ in everything, regardless of what mom did, right? That's probably what happened. But yeah, she's obviously a terrible, terrible mother. Jesus Christ. I love this scene. This is such a weird. You wanna live with me, son? And she's like, Papa in Tokyo? Awesome! like where Shopee is. This scene is so stupid because he thinks everyone is in Tokyo. Yeah, I love this scene. This is so stupid joke here, right? So of course, in his alien worldview, right, he now thinks that Papas, they all live in Tokyo. So he's like, you want to live with Papa instead? She's like, in Tokyo? Awesome! Yes, of course. Oh my god. This anime has some weird comedy, some morbid. This episode overall, episode 3 here, is way funnier than 1 and 2. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a big fan of brutal murder or whatever. No, but it clearly are a lot more jokes in episode 3 here, right? Like, this here is like a funny misunderstanding of, you know, where fathers lives, right? That being said, I do want to bring up this in here as well, because it's interesting that he wants her to live with him. So, I will be very clear here. Because someone got really angry with me in my episode 2 video, right? Because I was like defending the evil mom. Okay, I'm not defending a parent in any anime, or this anime here, where I'm trying to give some nuance to it, right? Where I'm saying that, well, this thing here, blah, 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 means this thing, right? I'm not defending them or promoting them. So I'm like, oh, you promoted I don't know, I'm saying they're terrible people, but I'm just like trying to explain perhaps why they're evil or something, right? It feels annoying to me. And it reminds me of, for example, many years ago, me and my friend, this is so silly too, because he went to be friends at college. He went to the same degree as I have. We were arguing about, you know, the orange man bad, Trump, right? This is way back, like before he won the election. And I was trying to explain to him why people are voting for him, right? And he's like, how can you say that? You are an or and all this stuff. And I was like, but I'm not presenting that I agree with anything you're saying. You just asked me, why are people voting for X thing? And I'm trying to explain to you why they are doing that. Doesn't mean that I agree with doing it. I'm just trying to give you the theory behind it, right? But he couldn't handle it. He got all angry and say that I am doing X, Y, or Z. Like, no, I'm just like rationalizing, trying to explain why they're rationalizing the thing. That is something, and honestly, that's not the reason we aren't friends anymore. You straight up, yeah. Because I'm just like, no. I have to be able to explain to you, right, the reason behind this thing without you thinking that I agree with that thing. Is I can explain to you, you know, the reasoning, right, behind a lot of terrorists, you know, for example, right? Doesn't mean that I agree with them, but I can explain the reasoning or the strategies, whatever, so forth. Right? But anyway, when it comes to the father here, right, this to me is interesting because maybe he isn't like a super bad dad. See, I know this take now is gonna be like people are gonna try to cancel me now. How can you say that? This guy, this every parent, but he did accidentally throw one item in her face. He didn't do it on purpose. Okay, he did, of course. He wasn't very concerned about it. So I'm not saying he's a good parent, but he's also necessarily is he not the worst person ever. It wasn't like he took up thing and threw her in the face, right? He kind of threw it in all directions. She walked into it. So she walked into the door. No, but seriously, he opened the door and it flew on the same time. Right? So it wasn't like on purpose from her father. So it's like, okay. And now he wants her to live with him. So maybe he's actually fighting with her mom primarily because they're in a custody battle, right? And maybe that's why he's really angry at the mother, because she has perhaps won the custody arrangement and she's going to have the kid most of the time, right? And now in this situation, he's trying to get the kid, of course, who want to live with him, right? So yeah, he might not be the worst parent ever, right? What we see, the mom is seemingly beating up her daughter, right? Because she hates her husband, right? She takes it out on the daughter. Maybe it's the dad beating her up, though. But it seems to be implying that it's the mom. Maybe both of it, both. But yeah, but so far I think it's implied that the mom is the one physically abusing her daughter, right? And then dad, in this case, is trying to get custody over the daughter. Is he the bad guy then? I mean, again, I must think he's like the worst. You know, I don't know. People are. I see people be so. I can see people so angry at me for daring to say this thing. But if I was the father in this case, right? I have a daughter, right? If my wife, was beating my daughter every day, am I the bad father for trying to get full custody of my daughter? Isn't that what I should do, right? Now, of course, again, this guy seems to be a bad person. He buys hookers or whatever, and he spends all the money on karakura clubs. And I'm not saying he's a good person, right? But it's if he's so far in the anime that it seems reasonable for him to want to have custody if he is expecting, if he believes that his wife is beating his daughter, right? He's like, I should have custody, right? That seems to be a reasonable thing to him to want. But I don't know, we don't exactly know his reasoning. Maybe he's trying to provoke his ex-wife by trying to get the daughter to his side. He also might be using her as an item to piss off his ex-wife, right? Sure, that happens a lot of time too. So I'm trying to get some nuance here, right? But I think it's an interesting dynamic here if he's trying to save her from his ex-wife, right? It would be an interesting story bit if that's what is happening. But he also is presented as kind of like a terrible person overall, so it probably is not happening that. But how dare I bring up nuance, right? I just want to be very clear. I don't think he's a good person, but it does. If he expects his wife to beat her, it does make sense that he would like to get her away from her. Yeah, maybe Ashley isn't that bad of a parent. Because the mom is clearly the one that hates her, right? Yeah, the mom is the one that beats her, right? Exactly. Now mom is like, you're getting a beating. Yeah, see? Now mom is like, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you because you stole my husband. Oh, here we go, man. She's gonna slap the shit out of her. Oh my god. What is it, mama? She's gonna be like, you're stealing my husband. Yeah. I mean, obviously mom beats her up because she has some weird jealousy. Oh, there we go. Smack! There we go, the slapping thing. Oh, yeah, we know who mom beats her up. Oh, here we go. You're very unladylike. Takopii is like, pain? Oh, yeah, I waited for the 6 episode 1 though. Oh, she keeps beating her up. But see, the dad is trying to get custody. Am I the only one on the dad's side? Oh god, this is terrible. Oh. Yeah, you changed. You disgust me. Okay, maybe Takopi will kill her too. Oh, this anime season in brutality when she beats her up again. Oh. Maybe she figured out he's coping it. Because she's like, you're not my daughter, you're tricking me. Yeah, mom is like, maybe she's insane? Or maybe she isn't! Maybe she knows the truth! No, she's probably mentally insane though, but yeah. It seems really weird if she actually believes this. I think she's just like projecting her hatred to her husband into her daughter and thinks that she's strange, she's too happy, whatever. Yeah. I mean, the way she's speaking is like, oh, you're an alien, but no, she obviously is like, you know, she's like a weird mother relationship with her daughter, right? Here we go. Here we get what I expected earlier. That now Takopii is gonna understand that Marina's life is terrible too. Yeah, he's gonna like, he's gonna feel sad that he killed Marina because, you know, her mom is also really mean to her. So now he's gonna be like, maybe I have to revive her because, you know, she's being punched by her mom every night. Right, yeah, she's slapping the shit out of her. It's playing like Nintendo DS or something. Old school. They used to be really happy though. Why? Yeah. And there we go. Now she's slapping her. Why did? Yeah, they had like a pretty good marriage though. Why? I wonder why they started fighting though. So this is what I mean. I think he's gonna revive her because this is exactly what I expected in the beginning of the episode. Yeah, that Takopii feels really sad now that he killed her, and he wants to actually save her because he understands that she has a terrible life too, right? Yeah. Now this is a good scene, but this is exactly expected. Yeah, this was like the, you know. Yes, I have to reflect over my mistake, right? Yeah, because now it's like, shit, that girl wasn't that evil. Well, she was evil, but she also had a terrible life. Yeah, I had to fix it. Well, you have that time clock at his home planet, right? So, but also Shizuka is happy, so he's like, what should I do now? Yes, killing her was awesome, yeah. No, Takopii can't handle the guilt. So it ends, of course, with Takopi's guilt, right? And I think it's a good scene. It's a predictable scene, I have to say. At least because I predicted it. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, right? This was, like I said, the expected result. He's gonna live with her life, and as we obviously knew from episode 1, it was very, very clear in episode 1 that her mom is beating her, right? And as soon as he has to go through that, I saw in the episode her mom is slapping her like 6, 7 times. Yeah, mom is slapped, right? After that moment, Takopii, of course, I realized that, oh god, this little girl also has a terrible life. It's not as bad as Shizuka's life. She slaps every day, right? And is worse than slapping and steps on her and so on. But obviously her life also is terrible. And, you know, she used to have a good life. How can I now just kill her? Right. So it really is that situation where, you know, the saying of like, walk a mile in someone's shoes, right? Now when he has lived as Marina for a few days, he has experienced her sad life too, right? And it's, oh shit, what can I do with this thing, right? Yeah, so that's kind of where it goes from that, though. But what can I say? His reflections are what I expect, right? And that clock thing on his home planet seems to be kind of the solution. You time travel back and you save this girl too. Now, for some reason, he can't himself remember why he can't go back home. So there is clearly a mystery for some reason why his home planet is destroyed or whatever. Or maybe he needs happy energy or something to go back. I mean, something like happy fuel, you know. Yeah, so there's something like that. But I feel that's going to be the final episode. He will probably go back home and save Marina. And also maybe Shizuka, right? So this story is good. I hope I'm correct on the father. As said earlier, just before we started slapping, that the dad doesn't seem that bad, right? I know people are gonna be hating. I keep saying it, but I see people hating me so much, anything. But what we know so far from the father, is that yes, he's kind of neglectful for her. Absolutely is, and he seems to be spending money on well, that special MILF that he likes, yeah. And also going to like Karakura clubs, kind of like how would I explain them? Yeah, they're pretty common in Japan. It's like pretty close where I live here actually. How would I explain them? It's one of these bars where you don't you don't buy sex or whatever, but you kind of go and drink, and it's pretty girls. They kind of they give you a new drink or whatever, right? So it's one of those hostess clubs, I guess they call it in English. Yeah, they're very common in Tokyo especially. And if you ever play like the Yakuza games, you go to Kamaru show, you can find them and so on. Yeah. And then of course you have the male version as well, right? And so on. So it's pretty common in Japanese culture in like the in nightclubs. They're not illegal, and you can find them everywhere in like a nightclub city or like a Brigan. I mean, in Japan, very very common. But that obviously costs a lot of money, right? Going to those places, it's kind of like I wouldn't say the same thing, but they're a little bit like going to a strip club, I suppose, in America. So he's obviously wasting a lot of money, and it's kind of dirty, and so he's not a good person, right? But again, like I said earlier, it feels like, well, yeah, mom is slapping her, right? Mom is the one that's beating the crap out of her. Why shouldn't he have custody for? Right? He might not know that, but he probably suspects it, right? Because she got bruises in her face several times. We've seen her more than once, right? With some, punch in her face. Might be a reason why he fights with his ex-wife, right? So I think it's interesting that if he has some nuance to that thing, perhaps. But that being said, though, I think the best part of the episode actually was the battle thing. Yeah, I think the Golden Shot thing was very interesting. Of course, I went over it before, but here in the review part, to kind of summarize it, I think that was a more interesting storyline, right? How it's like, he really hates his older brother, even though it doesn't seem like he has done anything wrong. Again, obviously the mom is like super evil, yeah, and her mom is but the mom is, that's also why I like that bit a lot, because the mom isn't like neglectful in the same way, you know what I mean? Like with Shizuka's mom is that classic, whatever, fix your own dinner, shit kid, and kind of leaves, right? And this mom is more like neglecting, but also is kind of like, I'm using my hatred towards my husband against you instead, little bitch or whatever, right? It's more like that, right? His mother is more like, oh, you're a terrible kid, I hate you. Their mom isn't like, she's like neglectful. She's going in the other direction, right? Where she's like, just incredibly forceful. That's what she's interesting, because she is, in that sense, she's like overtly, she's a reverse position, right? Where she's actually too involved in the kid's life, right? She's trying to tiger mom him too hard, right? She's that meme, she's that Asian meme, doctor, engineer, yeah, she's that kind of meme mom, where she's kind of like, she beats her kid up if he doesn't get good grades, yeah. So she's not neglectful in the sense of, I'm just ignoring my kid, right? She's more like, F you, you're terrible at school, study harder, here's more books, right? Yeah, she's like super pushing it, right? Which is probably, if I'm honest here, I'm sorry my Japanese fans, but that mother is probably a lot more common in Japan. Let's be honest here, right? The overachieving, pushing mother that's very, very mean to her children is definitely a much more common thing in East Asian culture than the neglectful mother that just ignores the children. Yeah, that, I think the other direction where the mom is incredibly, evil in the sense of her children, but trying to force them, right, to do something that they want. It's quite, definitely common, and obviously gives a lot of people issues, right? Failure and so on. And usually what happens to a kid in a situation is that they, of course, will feel guilt, right? They will feel sadness and guilt in the sense that they're failing the expectations of the parents. So even if they might hate their parents because they are, kind of controlling them with, in her case, food and so on, right? But like controlling them with maybe money, food, gifts, whatever, right? So forth. Is generally, emotionally controlling them. And then even if they hate the parents, they also usually are massively craving their acknowledgement, right? So because the parent has kind of trained them to be obsessed with like this, oh, you're a failure and so on, and you can never appease me, you're so terrible or stuff, right? They tend to unfortunately get that, like, even if I hate my mom, I just really, really want her to tell me that I am awesome, or that I achieved something that she really wants to, or whatever, or something, or so that, right? So you get like an obsession in that sense. And it is kind of common though that a lot of children in that case gets very overprotective of the parent, right? Especially the mother in that case, more than the father, I would say. They get very overprotective. It's like, my mom actually loves me. She's beating me up because she loves me. Yeah, it's a very common coping mechanism, of course, for the child, right? To kind of try to rationalize the parents' decision making, right? Of she doesn't feed me because I don't deserve it. You know what I mean? So it's very, very ingrained, right? So that's it. Yeah, it's a very terrible situation. And if you do that against your child from an early age, and I guess that's been happening for a long time, right? And now consistently, so doing it like for every year, right? for all years of school, the kid gets very broken. So I like that idea that he is he's probably somewhat obsessed with his mom, right? In the sense that he hates her, but he also wants, like I said, he wants her love, right? He wants her to say that she loves him more than his brother, right? So he's in that sense, and then, like I said, he's trying to like hurt his brother instead of his mom, because he craves her acknowledgement, right? Rather than just like whatever his brother is. He craves that, so he takes it out on the sibling instead. So that makes a lot of sense. But I also think it is because, like I said, the pressure of hatred, where he doesn't dare to directly fight with the person you're hating, right? You fight with the other one that's weaker. You attack the child instead of the parent, because you don't dare to fight that thing, or you don't want to address the biggest thing. You fight what they love instead. It's a classic strategy, right? Try to get at them. So it's probably a combination of that. But that is very interesting, and I do think, I hope we get more into that later, right? The brother's perspective. What I would have liked, though, is that it turned into that like flying scene. But I would have loved that scene, but it might happen later, right? Because I do think his brother is presented as a nice person. So I would have loved if he he stole the ring, and then his brother, sees that, right? Or he finds it later or whatever in his room, and then he confronts him, and instead of like, beating him or whatever, he's like, oh, why did you steal it for? Oh, it's mom. And he's like, oh, no, yeah, mom is mean to me too, she did the same thing to me. Oh, you can have it. I would love that scene if his brother is actually like, I'm not angry at you. I understand what you're doing it for. Yeah, it's mom's fault. That would be kind of cathartic. If his brother is like, yeah, I understand. Don't worry, Ototo-kun. I understand what you're angry for, and I will try to help you. So that would be a fantastic scene. But I guess I'm just hoping overall here, ignoring the whole science of it, right? From an anime standpoint, I'm hoping that someone is gonna be like not a psychopathic parent. I'm hoping someone is gonna be a nice person. Yeah, someone is gonna be like a nice person. Not everyone has to be like some goddamn sociopath. No, someone is just like, you know what? Yeah, screw mom. Yeah, you and me, bro. It would be nice. It would be nice. Like I said before, I do think that the golden child do get a lot of unnecessary hate. I mean, in most cases, the golden child has no control over that the parents prefer them over the siblings, right? And it feels really weird, I think, in most cases, right, where the siblings will hate the golden child kid, where they really couldn't help it. And like my sister, where she on purposely was like, hey, I got all the power, screw you guys, yeah, yes, they're the bastard, yeah, that's very different when they abuse their status, right? Now, what more happened? But I guess in the beginning we also have the burial thing, and yeah, I don't know. I guess that made sense. Like I said, she can't go to the cops, right? She's like, an alien killed this girl. Like, no one's gonna buy that. So yeah, I guess that made sense. But surely someone will find the body later. Absolutely. I mean, we saw how the body was above ground. Yeah, we saw the body kind of, being seen a bit by her face. So certainly someone, maybe in this episode, will find the body. And then they're gonna also really wonder, like, wait, isn't already a Marina? Which of course they will maybe again trigger some time traveling in that clock or something. Absolutely. But anyway, guys, the video, please subscribe, press the like button. So I'll probably do the next thing again. So I'm gonna record this video, put it on membership for a week ahead of time, right? This video will probably be insanely long now. See how long it is, but I do feel that, like I said earlier, it's a higher quality video. Hope you guys like it. So you can have a great day.